Okay, here's a typical example of how one can use some tools to help us deal with authentic text with our students. I've just seen an interesting news article about killer whales, kind of a tragedy when the killer whale drowned its trainer, but I know my students have followed the news story as well, so I thought, well, this will be something interesting to follow up on. So I'm going to look at the topic of killer whales in class. So the first thing I do is find some text to use with my material. Normally we all rush to Google, but there are some alternative sites out there. One of them is this site called Tori, sort of a play on words for too wordy. And what Tori does is it analyzes the search results it gets from Google, so it acts as a filter between us and Google, but it applies some readability tools to see which sites are easier or more difficult to read. And here on the side you can see it colors things, so the lighter the color, the easier Tori is telling us it is to read. So I'm going to scan through and find something that I think is suitable for my students and see if I can find suitable text this way. Okay, and Tori's led me to a few sites I've investigated, and this one I think has got some potential. It's a nice authentic text published in America by the Northwest Regional Office of the Marine Fisheries Service, and it has quite a simple little reading, but it looks like something that would be useful for material in class. So I found my material, and now I want to find out, I know it's readable, and apparently it's not so difficult to read according to Tori, so I want to now have a look at the vocabulary issues with this text. So all I do now is I highlight the text I want to. I right click on it and I copy that to my clipboard. Great, now we visit our favorite site, Complete Lexical Tutor, and we're going to take a look at this tool here called Vocabulary Profile, which I just click on to open. There are a number of profiles here. We're going to just take a look at one of them, this one here called BNL, which is a nice tool that it shows frequencies according to fairly fine bands. When you have a chance, you can have a look at the other ones and compare them as well. So we click on this one, this window opens up, and here we have an input window. I simply highlight the window, delete what's in there. If I want to, I can put my title in here if I want to save it later. And I then paste my text in from my clipboard. So there we have it. There's the text that's come in from the clipboard. Sometimes I get rid of extraneous things like hyperlinks and things like that, but this text is pretty clean and it looks okay here. Okay. Now I've got my text in. I want to see how the range of vocabulary that's in this text. So I simply click this Submit Window button here, and it scans it and shows us the breakdown of the text. Now the blue words in BNL, there are 3 bands of them. The blue words are really high frequency words. The green words are common, very common words, and the yellow words are common, but maybe not all as frequent as the other ones. And then anything in red is either a proper noun, which means it could be known, or it's a word that maybe not that frequent. Over here we have the cumulative totals. Now as you go down the list, you see the percentage of text covers gets higher and higher, and at the moment it's telling us that in this text about 83 words out of 100 are known, or about 17 are unknown. That may seem high, but actually research tells us that really you want to get to a point where there might be only 5 unknown words out of 100 for the text to be accessible for students. So we want to find out exactly how these words look, and as we scroll down, we'll see Tom has provided us with 2 panels here. On one side we have the actual text here, and the other side we have the same text, but it's colored. You'll notice that the punctuation, numbers, things like that have been stripped. Now this lets us see, again you can see most of the text is blue, some green, a little bit of yellow, and then there's all these red words. So the task for us now is to look at this and see how can we perhaps deal with this text so that there are fewer unknown words than what the profile is telling us. Okay, the first thing I look for is any proper nouns, just to get them out of the way. And as I scan down, I can see that there's the name of the island, San Juan Islands, and Puget Sound. So I'm just going to put these in just to get them out of the way. So I go back to the top here, and in my recategorizing box I put those words in. Now I scan through again, I see a lot of words are repeated that I could deal with and get them out of the way. Whale, and the plural form, of course, and then the orca. So basically, by making sure my students know a whale, and that orca is a official name for that kind of killer whale species, and also making sure they understand these are places, I can now try to reprofile the text to see how that changes this percentage. So I click ReVP here, as you can see up here, and it'll change things for me. Right, okay. So now that's increased it to almost to 90%, which is getting to be a workable text. As you can see here now, the text's becoming bluer and bluer, and there's fewer red words. As I scan through, I see some words that we've come across in class, pollution, that I know my students know already. In fact, there are 2 of those in the text. So I'm going to put pollution in as well. And ReVP once more. It's quite a flexible tool. Of course, you can also, if you want to, you can actually edit words here and take them out and profile them. Right, okay, so now we're looking at we're over 90%, so things are starting to shape up better for my text. Okay, and I see I made a spelling mistake. I didn't put in the S on orcas here, so I'll just do that now. Right, so as you can see, the text is fairly that's better. So by combining the plural forms of orcas, I'm now up to 92%. Also, I take a look at these red words again, and I see there are a few words that are probably impossible for students to really guess from context. Definitely these words, the animals, salmon, wolves, and sharks are not really possible to guess from context. They're not critical in the text, so if we don't want our students to get worried about them, we can actually maybe pre-teach these by showing some pictures. So I'm going to put those in the mix as well. Right, so I've added them here, and let's press this once more. Okay, now we're up to about 93%, so the text is becoming really quite accessible for students. I can do some language work with it without having to worry too much about them stumbling with vocabulary problems. Now, as we look through the text, we can see these red words coming up, and a lot of times students might be able to guess words like contamination, for example, because as you can see, the context around it is mostly blue and green. Statistics tell us, or research tells us, that really in order to guess this one unknown word, contamination, students have to know roughly 19 of the 20 words around that word before they have a chance of guessing it. So this is also quite a good tool for focusing in on these kinds of issues. And again, as you can see, when you have red words stacked up like this, apex predators, vulnerable only to large sharks, this is a good indication of an area where students might have a lot of trouble because there's just no way they can understand what this particular phrase means. So again, we can use strategies to get around that. Great. And finally, just zip down to the bottom. Here the words from the text are spread out according to profile bands, and this is a good way to look at the text because it may show up certain words that we don't actually see by looking at the text as a whole. I particularly take a look at, say, these blue words, these dark blue words, and definitely the green words. Green words are quite tricky because we think students know them, but in actual fact they may not. And the yellow words definitely can cause problems because they are frequent, but they don't occur enough times for students to really get the grips with them. Here's just an example. I might take a look at chain. I think it appears here as food chain, but there's all sorts of ways we use chain of events, the physical chain itself, or being chained to something. Lots of good language could come out of that. Another possibility, again, you have maybe 5 minutes in class, you want to do a little lexical work focusing in on words from this particular text. Here's a good example of word building. The word threat is then turned into a verb, threaten, and then into an adjective, threatened. So another nice little piece of language we could focus in on. And quite often you'll see this coming up as well. You'll see 2 or 3 or 4 occurrences of a single word, which can provide opportunities for different collocations, different lexical, grammatical structures that go with that word. Okay, so that's basically LexTutor in a nutshell in terms of vocabulary profiling. It's so easy to do as long as your text is accessible. Most people use a lot of web pages nowadays, so it's really quite easy, as you can see. Definitely worth a try. Once you get used to it, it's almost becomes second nature. Okay, thanks a lot for listening.